Hey guys, Nike here, and today I wanted to make a video where I complain about the utterly delusional balance complaints I see on Reddit and the official forums. No, this isn't going to be a video where I make fun of people threatening to quit the game over Arc Divider, though that would be pretty fun. Jokes aside, this is a symptom of the problem of today's video. Namely, players are becoming overly specialized mains, and that breaks their brain and sets them up for unhappiness. It's been something that I and a few others have noticed for a while now, that the most unhinged takes on game balance seem to come from players who main not only one profession, but usually they main one spec within that profession. Their view of the game becomes incredibly myopic and deeply incomplete, and it also expresses itself in incredibly unrealistic ways. If you're beginning to think I'm describing you, please don't consider this an attack. Consider it me throwing you a lifeline. You need to play other classes, other elite specs, and other roles. Now, I'm not asking you to give up your main. All I'm really asking you is to dedicate 30% of your playtime to other specs. It will help you regain your bearings on reality. So why is this a problem now? The simple answer is the proliferation of elite specs in the game. Think about it this way. In vanilla Guild Wars 2, if you mastered the best 4 builds in the game in PvE, you literally mastered half the good builds in the game. You had a good knowledge of about 50% of the classes in the game. It was very easy to acquire a pretty coherent and clear bird's eye view of the meta and the state of game balance just by learning 4 builds. If you no-lifed the game like many people did in 2013, 2014, it wasn't impossible to master all 8 classes and get a totally complete view of the meta. Even if you were time-limited in the old days and only played one profession, at the very least, you still mastered 1/8 of the game. Fast forward to today, there are 27 elite specs, some of which have multiple good builds or can fulfill multiple roles. It's quite literally impossible to play every build of every spec at an expert level, even if you're a no-lifer. Snowcrows posts benchmarks for 36 different builds. Nobody anymore can master all of them. So what's happened? The no-lifers themselves have essentially limited themselves to particular classes and particular builds and particular roles that they like. Granted, if you're a no-lifer, that may still be 10 builds, but it ain't 36. For people with less time than the no-lifers, those people who only play one build went from mastering 1/8 of the game to mastering 1/36. The gap in their game knowledge went from 7/8 to 35/36. Simultaneously, as all this has been going on, as years have gone by, the standard of play has risen. Players in 2023 at a micro level are far better than players in 2013. Game knowledge, experience, and practice have taken the game orders of magnitude higher. This also means that average players are expected to be far better than average players were expected to be in 2013. How, if there are so many builds to know and standards are higher, did players cope? Again, this is pressure to specialize. With the increased standards and the increased amount of builds, players narrowed the scope of what they spent their time doing and getting good at, because otherwise they would just be bad at everything. What I'm getting at is it's hard to blame people for specializing. The game pushes you to specialize for better or worse, and it was the natural response to there being so many elite specs and the level of play, the standard of play rising. But you must recognize the danger of hyper-specialization. Again, to me, the solution is to take 30% of your playtime playing other specs and other builds. You don't necessarily need to master them, you just need to practice them enough to be able to play them at a competent level in a pug. If you do daily fractals 7 days a week, play your main on 5 days and use the other 2 days to play other builds. By expanding from 1 or 2 builds to playing 4 or 5 builds, you will get a far more holistic view of the game, and you'll probably have more fun doing it. With any luck, you'll be less likely to post unintentionally hilarious comments about game balance on Reddit. And most importantly of all, you'll be more insulated from game balance changes you don't like, and this is a key. If you monospec and that spec gets nerfed or changed to be against whatever your definition of fun is, if you play several other specs, you can tide yourself over until your main is fixed. Plus, the more specs you play, the more likely you are to benefit when there are great balance changes happening. Think of learning a second or third spec to be fun insurance. I can make this give a personal example for myself. In the last balance patch, a skill on Spellbreaker was bugged and caused the spec to do much less damage to the point where it wasn't really worth playing in raids. And it took ANET 2 weeks to fix it. I didn't make any angry Reddit posts or forum posts about it. I didn't quit the game. I didn't give the devs any ultimatums. I just played more Vindicator when I wanted to play power DPS. It was no problem, and now they fixed the bug, and I'm back to playing Spellbreaker without any drama and without throwing any fits. So definitely look into buying some fun insurance, and don't tunnel vision so hard on a single build that it becomes a threat to your enjoyment of the game overall. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm going to leave the conversation there. Thank you guys for watching. Hit me up with any comments you have down below. I'd like to hear what you have to say, and I'll see you next time.